Do your parents have a right to kill you? Why not? Why don't your parents have a right to kill you? They brought you into this world. They are the sole reason for you existing. They probably intentionally brought you into this world. They could have decided not to. And from the age of 0 up to when you were able to fend for yourself, they clothed you, they fed you, they gave you shelter, they gave you everything you needed to live. So if they gave you life, surely they have the right to take that life away, right? Why not? Why do your parents not have the right to kill you at any time that they choose? This is quite fun, really. Hopefully you've come up with a pretty good answer to this. Hopefully you have an answer to this. And I would ask you to apply that answer to animals. Right now, why do farmers not have the right to kill the animals that they birth and raise? The farmers who are responsible for those animals' existence. The reason is because once a life is born, that being, through their consciousness, is ordained fundamental rights over their life, their liberty, and their bodies. You, as a person, have the right to your own life once you are born. The moment you left the womb and opened your eyes, nature ordained you the right to your own life and your rights. Now, sometimes rights are not recognized under law, but that does not mean that they don't exist. It merely means that they are being ignored. For example, slaves during the era of slavery lasting 400 years in America, would you say that those slaves didn't have rights, that they didn't possess rights? No, of course they had rights. They were born with rights. Those rights were being ignored. Okay? Just like the rights of animals that are innate within them, that are a product of the existence of their consciousness. Those rights belong to them and they are being ignored by the human race, by their human overlords. This concept can be a little bit difficult for Westerners especially to grasp, I think, because we don't talk about this typically. There's a Middle Eastern poet, very famous in the Middle East, called Khalil Gibran. And this is where I heard about this. He was a poet and he wrote that parents do not own their children, and that the birthing of a child is something that parents play a part in but are not 100% responsible for. That life happens through the mother. Life moves through the womb. If you think about how much of the process of birthing a child is conscious versus unconscious, the majority of it is unconscious. The duplicating of cells, all of this complex, marvelous process is not one that requires an education on the part of the mother. Nature does the majority of the work. And if you're a parent, this can be a bit of a difficult thing to swallow, difficult pill to swallow, especially if you're a tyrant of a parent and you believe that you own your child or you have absolute authority over your child. I hate to break it to you, but you do not own your child, and your child has rights of their own that are independent of their creators. Quite humbling to acknowledge. If you're a programmer, fornicating is kind of like pressing run on a script, but the script was written by nature. It wasn't written by you. You just pressed the run button. Once the fetus is able to live independently of the host, the mother, that creature, that entity, has certain freestanding rights. It is a monolith of rights. It is freestanding. It does not have to lean upon anything else. So yeah, the right to bodily autonomy, the right to life and liberty, the right to defend themselves from invaders and to defend themselves against threats and to evade threats if they need to. Yeah, the right to not be locked in a cage. the right to be free. And look, there's a lot to be said on the case of animal rights because it's in such contrast to the status quo. And I will come out with videos in the future that go into this, that detail this, and that address any kind of counterpoints that might be made about this. But this is something that I just wanted to explain very simply so that you understand this. In exactly the same way that your parents do not have the right to take your life away, to kill you, or to perform operations on you, I don't know. In that very same way, we do not have the right to do that to the animals that are within our care. They are moral patients. We might have stewardship over them. We might have responsibility for the animals that we have bred into existence, but their rights exist. They are right there, whether we acknowledge them or not. They have been ignored throughout history, but they are there. We have a moral duty to recognize those rights and to not trample on those rights when it is convenient for us.
And next, what did medieval people eat? Maybe a not very varied diet, a lot more vegetables if you weren't particularly well off. Meat was an expensive commodity, so reserved for the tables of the nobility. You displayed your wealth by putting on huge feasts with masses of roast meat. And if you could afford to waste it, then all the better. That just goes to show how rich you really are. So food waste was almost an active display. Poorer people would have lived on bread. Bread would have been a communal effort. So you could grow your own wheat, but you would need the miller to ground that for you. You'd need the baker to bake it into bread for you. And they would eat an awful lot of vegetables. So pottage, something, literally just throw everything into a pot, like a big stew, and you keep that on the go. You would eat meat whenever you possibly could, but there are lots and lots of feast days and saints' days and holy days when you wouldn't be allowed to eat meat. So the church discouraged you from eating meat. Sometimes eat fish, but normally you would be expected to replace that with vegetables. Having said that, medieval people's calorie intake was also huge. It's been estimated at around 7,000 to 9,000 calories for a man working out in the field during the day. You might be doing a 12, 14-hour shift of hard labour out in the fields every day. You needed the calories to sustain you. So they may have eaten much plainer food. We might not think of it as very tasty, but they would have eaten a lot of it.